Yo, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another Keelgottime video, and today, because Keel got some time, we're going to be reacting to the psychology of Gen X boys who dated white girls. Now, this is by Frank Educates and Retired Frank. Okay, man like Frank. So, for any of y'all Gen Z light-skinned babies, this is about your parents. I'm pretty sure Gen X. Yeah, this will be about y'all's parents or the millennials parent, or is millennials Gen X? No, millennials isn't Gen X, is it? I don't know. I don't fucking know. But anyway, let go. Oh, rhyming.
You ever been in the living room where the air got thick and nobody said a word? Not a fight, not an argument, just silence. The kind of silence where the dad's jaw locked up, the mom started rearranging things on the counter that didn't need rearranging, and the family dog looked at you like even he knew something was off. That was you, standing in a white girl.
You know what's crazy? I've never, met parents or, had to do this and have a formal introduction. Not in a way where they know that I'm the boyfriend. I've met people's parents, but not in a way where they know that I'm the boyfriend. So yeah, I don't know. I've never had to go through this.
Girl's living room in 1987. Fresh haircut, best shirt, hands in your pockets because you didn't know what else to do with them.
Type
and
shit.
Somewhere between nice to meet you, sir, and the car ride home, you learned something about America that no textbook was ever going to teach you. My name's Franklin, and I've been watching this one play out for a long time. A lot of you grew up in neighborhoods and schools where you were one of a handful of black kids, maybe the only one. And when you hit that age, 13, 14, 15, where your brain started paying attention to girls, the girls around you happened to be white. You didn't pick them off a list. You liked who you liked, and who you liked was sitting next to you in third period English. But the world had opinions. See, in 1983, Gallup ran a poll, asked Americans straight up, do you approve of marriage between black people and white people? Only 43% said yes. That means the majority of the country, your teachers, your neighbors, the parents of the girl you were calling on the phone after 9 o'clock thought what you were doing was wrong. Not illegal anymore, just wrong. And you had no idea those numbers existed. You were 15. You just thought a dad was mean. Now here's where it gets funny, because a lot of you handled that first visit to her house like it was a job interview.
No, just first of all, that as a rolled out questionnaire to the public is fucking crazy. Like, imagine them doing that today. You just get a letter through your door. Oh, what is this? Oh, from the government. You open, you see, you think it's your taxes. It's not. Talking about some. Is it okay for white people to be dating black people in 2026? Do you still think that's okay? Tick here, return to sender, blah 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 blah. Bro, you'd be looking at that shit like, the fuck?
You showed up early, you said sir and ma'am like somebody coached you. You complimented the house, even if it looked like every other house on the block. You did everything right, and her dad still looked at you like you'd walked in carrying a criminal record instead of a box of candy. Some of you remember the handshake. You put your hand out, firm, like your uncle taught you, and her dad either squeezed too hard or barely touched your fingers. Either way, you got the message. But the mom was a different situation. A lot of you will remember the mom being polite, almost too polite.
These AI shits, bro. What happened to mom's bottom half, nigga?
Damn.
Frank, what? Where you hid the mama's bottom half, bro?
Asking you questions like she was filling out a form. So, what do your parents do? What school do you go to? What do you plan on doing after high school? Meanwhile, the girl is standing there trying to speed the whole thing up so y'all can leave, and you're answering every question like your freedom depends on it. Because in your head, it kind of did. A lot of black boys in that era understood something early. You were being auditioned, not just as a boyfriend, as a representative. You weren't just dating someone's daughter.
I couldn't go through this, bro. I couldn't go through this. I couldn't walk into my girl's house, bro. See her dad face screw up, fam. Before I even introduce myself, I'm gonna be like, "Fuck wrong with you, nigga? The family pet die or something? Nigga, fix your face." Bro, I couldn't do this. I couldn't.
You were
I'd
on
feel
trial
too
for
like
your whole race.
I'd need to
And
say
if you messed
something.
up, it wasn't just you who failed. It was every black boy who came after you. That's a wild amount of pressure for a 10th grader who just wanted to go to the movies. Now, flip it. Let's talk about what happened at your house. Some of you brought her home, and your mom looked at her, looked at you, and then looked at her again. Didn't say anything rude, didn't make a scene, but later that night, you got to talk. Not the talk, the other talk. The one where somebody in your family, mom, dad, auntie, older cousin, said something like, "She seems nice, but you know white girls are different, right?" And you said, "Different how?" And they said, "You'll see." That was the whole explanation. You'll see. Like you were supposed to decode
Really?
the rest.
I just got grounded.
Damn.
I just got grounded. I remember that. Oh shit. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. My mom was not happy, boy. Not happy at all. Oh gosh. Ah! I wonder how that girl is doing now. What was her name? Elizabeth? No, not Elizabeth. Oh, I can't remember.
On your own. A lot of homes had
Oh,
that reaction.
gosh.
Not hostile, not forbidden, just skeptical. Like they'd seen this movie before and they already knew how it ended. And what they were really saying, without saying it, was that the world was going to treat you differently for this. And they wanted to make sure you understood what you were walking into. Because they did. They knew what that pairing looked like to people who still remember Jim Crow. They weren't mad at you. They were scared for you. But you were 16. You weren't thinking about Jim Crow. You were thinking about Friday night. Now, let's talk about your boys. Oh, your boys had something to say. Always. If you were in a mostly black school or ran with a mostly black crew, the moment word got out, you heard it. So, you like white girls now? Like it was a betrayal. Like you switched teams. Like choosing one person meant rejecting an entire group of people. And some of you laughed it off. Some of you got defensive. And some...
Nah, because I felt like this in secondary school. Oh my gosh. When I started dating that girl called Grace. Shit. Like, I low-key felt like this. Like, my friends was... Well, I say my friends. It was only one nigga. Man like Ramel.
Damn.
Man like Ramel. That nigga had to slap the nigga back into me. But, like, that nigga, he really made me feel like, like I was a hoe for real. For dating a white girl, he really made me feel like that. And I was like, damn, nigga, shit. I just like her. I'm sorry.
Some of you, and this is the part nobody talks about, started keeping it quiet. You wouldn't mention a name around certain friends. You wouldn't walk the halls holding hands. You built a wall between the two parts of your social life and bounced between them like you had two identities. Sound familiar? Meanwhile, her friends had their own version. Some of them thought it was exciting, edgy even, like you were a character in a movie and dating you made her interesting. A couple of them probably asked her questions that had nothing to do with who you actually were and everything to do with what they'd seen on TV. And some of her friends got weird, stopped calling, changed the energy when you walked up. You could feel it even if nobody said it out loud, because that's how it worked in the 80s and 90s. Nobody had to say the word race. They just rearranged the room until you got the message. Let's get back to the numbers for a second. By 1990, Pew Research found that 63% of non-black adults said they'd oppose a close relative marrying a black person.
by 1990. Okay. So more black people are against interracial dating than the white people was. Huh. Okay.
63%. That's not some fringe opinion. That's the majority of white America saying, not in my family. And your girlfriend's parents was somewhere in
Wait,
that
what?
number.
White? I thought you said this was the black people. Black adults said.
1990, Pew Research found that 63% of non-black adults
Oh, non-black adult. My bad.
said they'd oppose a close relative marrying a black person.
Okay.
63%.
My bad,
That's
guys.
not
My
some
bad. My
fringe
bad. My bad.
opinion. That's the majority of white America saying, not in my family.
White Amer- Who's this nigga?
Damn.
Nigga, you're supposed to be over here. They just sneak in the back and shit. I see that throw.
And your girlfriend's parents was somewhere in that number. You just didn't have the data to prove it. What you did have was a feeling. That feeling where you knew something was wrong but couldn't name it, where you could sense a shift in a room but nobody confirmed it, where you were standing in somebody's house being perfectly polite and still getting treated like a guest who wasn't quite welcome. That feeling taught you something. It taught you to read situations before you walked into them, to scan faces for approval before you relaxed, to adjust your behavior based on who was in the room. And you carried that into adulthood, into job interviews, into meetings, into every room where you were the only black person and you had to figure out fast whether you were safe or performing. A lot of that wiring started in her living room. Now, let's talk about the actual relationship, because it wasn't all tension and uncomfortable dinners. A lot of you had a blast. Friday night at the mall, driving around in somebody's parents' car with the radio on, renting movies from Blockbuster and arguing about what to watch, sharing headphones on a Walkman, sitting in the food court splitting a Sbarro slice. Normal teenage stuff. The kind of stuff that had nothing to do with race and everything to do with being young and bored and in like with somebody. Some of you went to her prom, rented a tux, posed for pictures in her parents' backyard while her dad stood off to the side, looking like he was doing long division in his head. And the whole time you're smiling because you look good and she looks good, and tonight was supposed to be about fun, even though you could feel the weight of every adult in the room calculating something you weren't part of. Some of you went to concerts together, discovered music that wasn't on your radar. She put you on to something, you put her on to something, and for a little while you had this thing that belonged to just the two of you, just two people figuring out what they had in common. And then there were the car rides. A lot of you remember driving through certain neighborhoods and noticing the stairs, or pulling into a gas station and feeling like the whole place shifted. You didn't talk about it. You just turned the music up and kept driving. Because what were you going to say? Hey, that guy at Pump 3 looked at us weird. You were 17. You just wanted to get to the party. But your brain was filing all of it away. Every look, every pause, every time somebody's tone changed when they realized you were together. You were building a database of micro situations that told you where you were welcome and where you weren't. And that database is still running, right?
Bro, AI. Like, what? Gosh.
Now, in 2026, every time you walk into a room and do a quick scan before you sit down, that's the same software from 1989. Now, here's the part that's actually kind of wild. By the time the 90s hit, the world started catching up to where you already were. Interracial couples started showing up in movies. TV got a little more comfortable with it. And then somewhere around 1997, Gallup said the majority of Americans, finally, after decades, approved of black-white marriages, 64%. You've been doing this since 1986, and America just got there in 1997. So when people now talk about interracial relationships like they no big deal, and for younger people they mostly aren't, a lot of you sit there with this quiet thing in your chest, this thing that says, yeah, it's easy now, but it wasn't easy when I was doing it. You were the version that had to survive the transition. You dated across the line when the line was still electric, and nobody gave you a medal for it. Nobody wrote an article about your bravery. You just went to Blockbuster on a Friday night and hoped nobody made it weird. A lot of those relationships didn't last. Most high school relationships don't. But the ones that did, the ones that turned into marriages, those couples had to navigate something that most people never think about. Holidays. Whose family do you visit? How does Thanksgiving work when one side of the table still isn't sure about you? How do you raise kids when your in-laws still flinch at certain conversations? The census says there were about 167,000 black-white married couples in 1980. By 2010, that number had jumped to 558,000. That growth didn't happen because the world got nicer. It happened because people like you made a choice and stuck with it, even when the math said most of the country wasn't behind you. And some of those relationships didn't end because of race. They ended because you were 17 and you didn't know what you were doing. She didn't either. You grew apart. You went to different colleges. You moved. Life happened. And years later, some of you looked her up on Facebook just to see, not because you wanted something back, just because she was part of a chapter that shaped you in ways you didn't fully understand until you were 40. Here's what a lot of black Gen X men who dated white girls figured out eventually. The girl was only part of the equation. The rest of it, all of it, was what the world projected onto you for being with her. The stares, the interrogations, the loyalty tests from your own people, the suspicion from her people. All of that was coming from outside, and you had to decide every day whether the person sitting next to you was worth the noise. Most of you decided she was, at least for a while. And in that time, you learned things about yourself that you wouldn't have learned any other way. You learned where your own family's limits were. You learned how to read a room in seconds. You learned that love, or whatever the teenage version of love is, doesn't exist in a vacuum. It exists inside a country with opinions, and those opinions will show up uninvited, sit down at your dinner table, and stay as long as they want. Pew Research tracked this over decades. In the late 1980s, when Gen X was first hitting dating age, about 2/3 of the generation said it was all right for black and white people to date. That means 1/3 of your own generation, the people in your homeroom, thought it wasn't. By the time the last Gen X's turned 18, that number climbed to 85%. But you didn't get to wait for the number to move. You were already in it. And that's the thing about Gen X. You were always early, always ahead of the curve on something the rest of the country was still arguing about. You just never got credit for it because you did it quietly on a Friday night with a rented movie in somebody's parents' car. That's the most Gen X thing about this whole story. You lived through something that was historically significant, and your main concern was getting home before curfew. One more thing. A lot of you are dads now, and some of you have sons, and those sons are dating whoever they want, and nobody blinks. They'll never stand in a living room where the air gets thick just because they showed up.
Gosh. Jeez, what do I even have to say on this? I don't. I don't like this just because the animation was very shit. Like, very, very shit. And I don't blame AI. I blame Frank's Educates. That was just terrible animation. But the story, though, and actually what was said, like, damn. Yeah, I do imagine that that's that's probably what all y'all went through. So for all the racist people that be, I say racist people, all the people that just hate interracial dating, or like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this black man. I cannot believe this fucking black nigga I decided to date this white girl. Oh my gosh, my whole world's melting. Oh, for those people, yeah, blame Frank. But like, come subscribe and anything down below. Two videos dropping every single day. So come pull up tomorrow. Come check me out, and yeah, peace and prosperity. Oh my god.